Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Evolve and Elevate with Erica. We're so glad that you're with us here once again on this wonderful Monday evening. We thank you so much for joining us. And of course, I have with me the dynamic Miss Alicia Johnson has come back with us one more time, and we praise God for it. And we're so thankful that she is here with us today. We are still in the subject of self awareness. Tonight's topic, we're going to be diving into how to unlearn dysfunction and identifying our strengths and weaknesses God's way. So we know that dysfunction is something that we kind of operate in unknowingly for a period of time, maybe in our lives. And it wasn't until we got sober minded or in a place where we saw someone operate in authenticity and operate in a place of their true self that we realized that we had some dysfunctional habits in our lives. And sometimes we carry these through coping mechanisms, different traumas and things that we may have had in the past. So as you're coming in tonight, we thank you so much for joining us. Please share, please like, please tag someone to join the conversation with us tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to Miss Alicia. Again, my name is Erica Bishop, the founder of Empowered to Prosper Coaching and Consulting, and also the Evolve and Elevate with Erica podcast. We are so grateful for you to be here with us tonight. And I'm going to turn it over to Alicia. For those of you who do not know her, I want to make sure she takes some time to introduce herself to you. Thank you, Alicia, for joining us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me back again. This is so exciting. I've been waiting for this all day, actually. I've been looking forward to it. I am Alicia Johnson, the creator of the 1212 community. And the 1212 community is dedicated to helping everyone who chooses to learn how to recalibrate their lives 12 hours for God, 12 hours for man. And we do this in a myriad of ways, one of being journaling through the process at 5 a.m. in the morning. We also have Life Path Year Cycle School. We are getting ready to launch the Provision School, and we are definitely everything forgiveness. And so, this is your spiritual community that helps you to balance out the the world system. So that's who I am. And take it away, Erica.
All right, thank you so much. So, as we are thinking about dysfunction and we're thinking about strengths and weaknesses, as I was getting prepared for this, one of the things that I have learned on my healing journey, and that's what the Evolve and Elevate with Erica is all about. I'm still on this journey of healing. I'm still on this journey of growing. I'm still on this journey of being my best self. And I decided now it was time also to be obedient to God, and radical obedience we've been talking about, to share my life story and my journey as we evolve and elevate together, and some of the different roadblocks and things that I have learned, gaining wisdom, trials and tribulations, things that make us better. But one of the things that I have learned when it comes to dysfunction, I found that I held on to some things for a very long time based upon the loyalty and the love that I had for who told me.
Mm.
Some dysfunction we have held on to because I'm going to use the term big mama. Now, I had many big mamas, and I don't want nobody to get mad at me because you know how we can get about our big mamas. But some big mamas gave us some bad advice. They only gave it out of what they had
Mm.
and what they knew at the time. So, Alicia, I have a question for you.
Mm.
When did you realize your level of dysfunction? And what did you start doing to start unpacking the layers? Because we know it's in layers. You unpack one thing, you have to unpack something else. When did you begin to start unpacking the layers?
After I had children, after my first son, I began to realize that the dysfunctional habits, ideals, all of those things that I had taken on as my own I was not going to be a successful parent. My son, the whole family was going to go down because I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And it was very humbling because I began to realize at that point in my life how much comparison I had. That was one of my bad habits. I would compare everything I was doing to someone else. And if it didn't measure up, I was constantly pulling on the bad information that I got from people. It worked for them. It worked for them. Just because it worked for them doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And so that was like the beginning of the end. Like birthing my son, it was exciting, but that's when everything literally started to go downhill. It was pretty sad. It was really sad. It was I say that because I'm so happy I'm on this journey now, and I'm so happy that my kids are still like we're together. But I missed a lot of their childhood. I missed a lot of parenting stuff because I was dysfunctional. It was awful. It was awful. Now I'm going down a rabbit hole. I'm thinking about this stuff. This might be a totally different. Yeah, I was awful. Oh Lord, go ahead, Erica. Give me another question because
I'm right there with you
I'm getting ready to
because
lay down. Huh?
I'm right there with you.
I'm getting ready to lay down on this couch back here. I need a counselor.
God, I'm telling you, I, you know, it. Children will change your life,
Yeah.
and so much more than you think, because they are true mirrors of who you are,
Mhm.
especially when they get around 2 and 3 and their personality is coming together and they're picking up on the environment that they've been brought up in, and they are quick. Now,
Yeah.
one thing I love about children, they operate nothing but truth. We talked about
Mhm.
truth last week. They operate a complete truth, and they give it right back to you. I remember the first time I asked my son how I looked in an outfit, and he was quick to say fat. I was like, oh my God. So, it was one of those things that children become such a mirror for you. And I made so many vows that I would never do this, that, and so, because of what I grew up in and what I said I didn't like. And I found myself as a parent doing those same things. And it was
Mhm.
like, oh, well, you said you weren't going to do that, huh? And
Mhm.
it shows up. And then you have to get to a place where, as I grew in this journey, I had to apologize to my children because I had said I didn't know any better. I did the wrong thing. Please
Mhm.
forgive me, because
Mhm.
we don't realize some of the things that we have said and done, and we think just as a parent, children are supposed to just take it, and they're not, because
Mhm.
we know and understand that as we've grown and we've had our experiences, there's some things that were said to us that hurt us. There's some things that we're still holding on to that happened to us as children, as teenagers, with a confrontation with our parents that has stressed our relationships.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna take a pause because I think you got something you want to share.
No, I just this whole topic. I had an idea of unlearning dysfunction and identifying strengths and weaknesses. I had an idea, but now it's like all of this other stuff is coming up. Um, just thinking about this is why for me forgiveness is such an important tool as it relates to identifying and unlearning the dysfunction, because that was one thing I was so grateful for, like before my dad transitioned, that I was personally able to release him of a lot of the dysfunctions that were present in my life. And not necessarily that I mean, it was a strange dynamic, but I made peace with him enough so that I wouldn't have to carry it after his transition. But it was like during that time period, especially towards the end, you're going to deal with your dysfunction one way or the other. You're going to deal with it knowingly, unknowingly, or you're going to be forced to deal with it at the end of life. I have been privileged to be in the presence of people, several people as they transition. And if you don't deal with your dysfunction during the course of life, at the end, It's gonna all come out. Listen, what I did, that was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. I want to apologize for this. I'm like, oh my gosh. You've been holding this in all this time, all of the things that you knew, all of the things. I'm like, Lord, don't let that be me. I don't want to waste my last few days here on this earth trying to correct things or release things that I know need to be released now. That's a special kind of dysfunction. That's a special kind of.
It's a lot to unpack.
It
It's a lot to
is.
unpack at one time. And I don't know about you. We can't delay unpacking things. You know, we go on trips and the suitcase sits over in the corner for about 2, 3 weeks until we need something out of it, and then we decide that we need to unpack it. We have to take the time to unpack the things that we have allowed to lie dormant, and some things we've even forgotten about.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked last week about operating in that place of truth. And when you operate in truth, you don't have to hold on to these layers of things. So when you free yourself, you spend your life making memories
Mm-hmm.
and enjoying them for however long it's going to be, instead of finding yourself trying to run around the world. We see them in movies all the time. Everybody trying to run around the world and make amends with people and find them and fix it and do it. But we need to do it now because we don't know when, the day or the hour, when we're going to have time. We don't really have time. But to
Mm-hmm.
make amends first with ourselves, I had to apologize to me for my dysfunction and
Mm-hmm.
even the stuff that I created, because I found myself even living in a place when I was unhealed, living in a place of self sabotage
Mm-hmm.
and creating extra dysfunction
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't want to deal with what I knew I had to confront, which was some things that I was trying to be in denial of. So my
Mm-hmm.
next question is, when you got to a place where you were beginning to become coming to yourself and becoming more sober minded, what were some of the first things you did in changing some of the things that you had that was part of your normal life then, that you had to consciously say, I need to shift this to come out of dysfunction?
It was every area of my life. Every area of my life was dysfunctional. Every area. And when I say when, and then you have to define dysfunction for yourself. Some of the things that I considered dysfunctional, they look fine to other people. It was fine. See, you have to gauge your dysfunction according to the truth of who God has created you to be. And one of the things was that God had to deal with me. Like one of my dysfunctions, I used to lie a lot about everything for just dumb reasons. And when I really started to set a higher standard for myself, because God began to reveal to me what lying was doing to me, it was dysfunctional for me. It was stopping me from moving to that next level. But because other people did not understand that, it wasn't a dysfunction. Girl, it's just a little white lie. It don't mean that some of the stuff you just take to the grave. You don't have to be telling everybody your business. I do. I have to live a certain way. I have to do this because of where God is taking me. So, what may not be dysfunctional for you, for someone else, may be a big deal for you. And so, every area of my life, I was dysfunctional in my finances. I was dysfunctional in my marriage, in my relationship with my husband. I was dysfunctional as a parent. It was just like God the foundation was just torn down. It was awful. It was awful. So I had to address every area, every single area. Lying being the first one.
Yes. Mine was talking too much. And here I am with a podcast.
Well, no,
Mine
you're
was
doing it right though.
I'm doing it right. And I'm
Mhm.
going to tell you, the Holy Spirit will always tell you where you are,
Mhm.
because it was the talking too much was a link to the um, um, being approved by other people.
Mm.
and accept it,
Right.
because that was rooted in abandonment and the
Mm.
fear of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
All of it is linked. One thing is linked to the next. And
Right.
so there are times when you're talking to people and you want to get to know people and you try to open up and you're so messy, Lord Jesus. You're looking crazy. And I would be talking and I could hear the Holy Spirit saying, "Now, why did you say that? Like, shut up. Like, what are you saying? Like, why did you have to tell them? Are you just telling all your business to try to make yourself look
Look
good? Because
good. Yep. Yep.
so that they could accept you. And I'm having a long dialogue with the Holy Spirit, and you'd be like, why? Like, what did that do for you? And when I went through my season, I shared this before, of studying to be quiet,
Mm.
not giving a response, not saying anything. I had to be quiet to shift, one, my language to myself, and two, to hear what people were really saying to me.
Mm-hmm.
Not listening just to respond,
Oh.
but really listening to what they were saying and not saying, so that my discernment could grow.
Right.
And in that process, I really began to see, you really, these people that you trying to get approval from, honey, they ain't thinking about you, know that they really like you.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
That's not your group of people,
Right.
because that's not the person I've called you to be. So even in that began to start unraveling this image
Right.
that I had portrayed and put out there, that was also a part of, that was trying to hold up the dysfunction of what we talked about a couple of episodes ago, about the illusion that
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to hold on to.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I'm gonna turn it back over to you.
Mm. It's God began to deal with me like I used to have that like approval addiction.
Hmm.
I couldn't do anything. Like this work that I do right now, if I had been the person that I was before, I wouldn't do anything because it was like right now, like I have my baseball cap on. I have like this is my go-to. I'm working from home right now. I'm like, I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm not trying to do any of those things. It's all about the work that God is having me to do. But for the longest time, there's no way I would have shown up like this. Like, I don't know, Erica, is this so? Should I? Can I? Should give me about 10 more minutes. Let me run up and get myself together. Does this look okay? Is this all right? Is this? I couldn't do anything without someone's approval. I couldn't cook a meal without. Does that taste all right? Does it taste okay? If I bought some, I didn't know it got so bad that I'll never forget. I had this woman come over because I wanted some help with like interior design. Erica, it was so bad that she was like, "What's your favorite color?" I don't know. I didn't know what my favorite. She was like, "Well, what type of style do you like?" I don't know. Well, what's your goal? I don't know. Mike, what you think? I'm like, this is insane. I realized that I had lived my entire, not a portion of my life, but my entire life in that dysfunction. And I had to trace it back to try to figure out, where did I get this from? And from childhood. It was because of, first of all, my stature, because I was tiny. And so, because I was tiny, I needed help with a lot of things. And because I needed help with a lot of things, I had to ask people to help me. And so, in order to get the help that I needed, it always had to be in alignment with what that person was willing to do. And so, I learned at an early age how to manipulate the system to get what I wanted to have done, but not necessarily because I want. It was the weirdest thing, just to get things done, just to just to see if I could get it done. Not that I wanted it, just to see if I could get people to do it for me. But then when all of the stuff hit the fan, I realized that I spent so much time trying to get people to like me, trying to get people to approve of me, if I asked for it. So for example, if we were at a fair and somebody needed to like pick me up on their shoulder so I could reach something. So I wanted to make sure that I was approved, like I got what they wanted me to have. Like I was making them happy, or I was making so people would want to do more stuff for me. It was warped. It was just really warped. And the older that I got, I realized that I have spent so much time trying to be what other people wanted me to be that I didn't even know what I wanted. It was awful. In college, I bombed. It was a study group. It was four of us studying together. And out of the group, I was the only one that got an A. And I felt bad because we all studied together. So I felt like we should all get this. What kind of mess is that? So after that, I just stopped trying in the class because I wanted to fit into that little group that I was. Girl, stupidity. Stupidity. I don't even know where we're going with that question, but I'm heated right now.
It's so
Oh
good
my
because
God.
that triggered a thought for me.
Oh
When I
my God.
purchased my first home, I didn't tell anybody I was buying a house. My Holy Spirit told me, shut your mouth, don't say anything. I would go by the house every day to see how it was going while they were building it, and so on and so forth. But when you talk about understanding what you like and what you want, I had to make all the decisions. It wasn't for me to ask anyone. And that was a part of breaking me out of that approval thing. And after I got the house decorated, everything, and God was, you have your quiet moments. He was like, now look around. He said, this is who you are. You put yourself in this house. You didn't ask anybody about it. He said, I need you to see that you are creative, you are colorful, because I had spent so much time, like you said, trying to be other things and trying to, especially with the whole ministry thing, girl, the white hats and the white dresses. Oh God, them little shiny suits, my Lord. Oh God, I'm so glad I'm delivered. That's a whole nother situation. Sitting on the front row, that's a whole nother situation. I had to value me.
Girl.
I had to value me and what I like and say, no, I don't like this. Yes, I do like this. And not to even be concerned about whether or not you liked it. I liked it.
Okay,
It's
look. I got one for you.
come on, come on,
I'm
come
on one.
on.
I'm on one. I'm on. Okay, so this is how crazy this thing. This is why I cannot wait. Like this part of my life is shifting. Like everything is shifting. Like everything that I am doing because I desire it. God has placed it within me. I don't care what people think. You
Yes.
either get on, you either with it or you not. I'm not changing. I'm not changing. So this house that we have right here, God brought this to my girl. I almost passed out. When we were small, my grandmother, she was a domestic, so she worked for a couple of families. And we would always get hand-me-downs from they were rich, rich families. And so it was nice stuff, but still it was secondhand stuff. I'll never forget this dollhouse my big mama brought home. It was nice. And you open it up. You've known the colonials. And you walk in, you open it up, and you have the two levels and the kitchen and the this and the that. I was walking around my neighborhood one day, and God said, you bought your dollhouse. This house, when I stood on the street, I said, I be damned. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
God said, once we're done with this, I am released. Like this was like this when I thought back on that house, it's like when you if you literally split our house in half and you opened it up like that cologne, that's the house.
Wow.
And then on top of that, I went to reach in my cabinet to pull out some dishes, and these were the pots and pans I used to play with as a kid. The stainless steel, like the I said, "Oh my God, I'm living in my dollhouse. I'm living in my hand-me-down." My grand and God was like, "I needed you to see this. I needed you because this, like, it broke something open in me. It was
My
just so powerful. Like,
girl.
my next move is gonna be so outside of the, like, this is like Mike and I is like, this is not our dream home. Like, this is the
Ooh,
home where we kind of how can I put it, heal the nightmares. But this
yes.
was all part of that cycle in my life where
Yes.
everything was attached to something else. Like, God is like, behold, I do a new thing. I'm going to do a new thing in this house, but I need you to see and understand what this house represents. I was like, oh my God.
You know you're gonna make me run down the street. Okay. I'm about to jump out the window, fly, and run down the street. Let me tell you something. Let's talk about transition real quick. It just hit me. There are some things that happen in our lives when we're coming out of a place of dysfunction and we're learning and we're growing and we're healing. There are some times where God will push you quicker than you want to go. He will leapfrog you. Even when you, oh, I got to do this, I got to do it. He will leapfrog you and he will let you know, I'm done with that. Now it's time to move on. And when he brings about revelation like that, he's letting you know you're done with that season. Now it's time to move forward to something else.
Yep. That's exactly what happened with my job. That's exactly, like, every time, like, when God gives you that ultimate revelation, the shift is about to happen. Like, er, mm, mm.
Get ready, get ready, get ready.
Girl.
When we really open up ourselves to say, I am done with the dysfunction and I am ready to change. You said something a few minutes ago about changing the standard of your life. And that's also a part of breaking the dysfunction. How many of us, and this is for everybody out there, have changed or said we weren't going to do a thing because someone else in our family had never done it before? How many of us have said, no, I'm not ready for that yet because so and so told me it wasn't my time for it yet? But when you grow to a place and you're ready to get here, it's not about somebody else's timetable. It's not about somebody else's stamp on your life. When it's time for you to level up, it is time for you to level up. And you are the one who's supposed to be the first because you're supposed to break that cycle of dysfunction. You're supposed to be the one to tear through. You know how you go to a construction site and they have that real big heavy plastic that you have to cut through. You can see through it, but you got to literally cut through it. Many of us can see where we're supposed to be on the other side, but we've got to be the ones to go do the work to cut through that dysfunction, to step over into living a life of freedom and liberty,
Mm, mm, mm.
and not
Amen.
holding on to this traditional stuff, traditional
Mhm.
dysfunction, and we carry it from one generation to the next.
Mm. And this is why it is so important that you identify what is important to you.
Say it again for the people that's not listening next door.
You have got to do what is important to you. And this is why, for me, God has just like really opened me up to realize, like, for me, the most important thing to me is to be well provided for.
Mhm.
Provision is very important to me. And because provision is very important to me, it's important that I live a life that affords me the opportunity to be well provided for. And what that means is that I have to hold relationships at a very high standard.
Oh,
And
let's open that up. Open that up.
and the reason I say that is because once you identify what your priorities are, then you have to start to live accordingly. If I were to sit and listen to the world and what the world tells me, all of my relationships would be ruined.
Mhm.
Because the world wants you to push through relationships to get through to the money. The
Mhm.
world wants you to, how can I put it, bow down to titles and to prosperity and to things that look like they have power.
Mhm.
And for me, and this was like the when I began to really solidify this for me, my life began to open up
Mhm.
because I was trying to build my God made life based on worldly requirements. And
Mm.
that's not going to work.
It's not.
But once you establish, but see, this is the thing. If your priority is money, then you do what you have to do to get that money. But if your priority is something different than that, then people that are looking for money are going to think that you are dysfunctional. Like people, I have heard so many, you're not coachable. You're
Mm.
not, you're not listening. You're not, and it used to bother me in the beginning, but God was like, your standards are different.
Yes.
Build relationships and not funnels.
Oops.
Build, honey, I want to travel and I want to do all of these things. And God said, you can, and you don't have to compromise who you are one iota. And when God opened this up for me, Erica, oh my God, let me tell you, we started traveling and doing stuff. And God was like, the people that are chasing money, that's all they'll have.
Come on.
But you are doing something different. So I'll never forget, I was in New Orleans. This was a few years ago. I was in New Orleans. And I just posted, hey, I'm in the French Quarter, wherever we were.
Mhm.
People from New Orleans that are in the community were reaching out to, are you free? We want to take, can you meet us here so we can take you to dinner? Can you meet us here so we can do this? I wish I had known you were coming. You could have stayed in my rental. You could have done. I said, oh my God,
Mhm.
are you kidding me? God was like, if you concentrate on the standards that matter to you, you will never have to worry about where you will lay your head, no matter where you go across this beautiful planet. But I've got to stand firm to the truth of who God has created me to be.
Yes.
But that looks dysfunctional to a lot of people because I'm concentrating more on building the relationships versus having the money in the bank. I can't talk to the money in my bank.
Mm-mm.
I can't have dinner with the money in my bank. I can buy the dinner, but I can't talk to the money.
Mhm.
I want real relationship.
Mhm.
And that was something that was huge for me when I really put my foot down. And that makes you look crazy.
Mhm.
It makes you look crazy. But dysfunction sometimes Godly dysfunction is different than worldly dysfunction. So
Yes,
let's qualify.
let's make that very clear. Very clear. Because we settle ourselves on what success looks like in the world.
And that can be dysfunctional.
That
You know
is
how many
dysfunctional.
people you know how many people are driving themselves crazy trying to look successful.
Hmm.
Wh-
I had someone ask me something the other day. They said, "When do you feel that you're going to be successful?" I said, "I already am.
Thank you.
At
Thank
this
you.
level that I am a success
Right.
because I'm making decisions based upon what God told me to do, and I'm good with where I am. I am successful. Now, am I a full-time entrepreneur? No, I'm not. That's not my desire right now.
Thank
I
you.
own my business and I'm very successful in the career that I have because
Yeah.
God told me that I have to be in the workplace because that's part of my assignment. I'm supposed to be in the
Thank
workplace
you. Thank
because
you.
I am one who's supposed to be bringing what it is that He wants me to do to the people at work,
Thank you.
as well as He's given me this platform. So right now, I have two things that I'm doing, well, several things that I'm doing, but this in this season, this is my level of success.
And as long as it's not stressing you out,
I
then
love it.
that's the point. And this is why a lot of times I am so talking about dysfunction. You know how many people have told me, you can probably just go and quit your job and just do this full time. No, not Alicia Johnson, because see, I know how God has created me. And I know for a fact that heaven requires me to have discipline and organization encoded in everything that I do. Alicia Johnson, left to her own devices, would be a hot mess because
Mhm.
heaven knows that without that discipline and organization, I would be a dysfunctional everything. But you have to understand the truth of who you are and don't let people talk you out of it. God specifically told me, don't stress your money out. Don't stress your money out. Like that is probably one of the most dysfunctional things that people do is that they put too much weight or too much responsibility on the beginning phase of the work.
Mhm.
You have started out like people crack me up. It's like I want you to pay me $500 an hour. Are you making $500 an hour in the world? Are you making $500 an hour in the world? At least give yourself the grace to at least match what you're doing in the world first. Like, let that be your first assignment. Like, a lot of our dysfunction comes because we are trying to do things that other people aren't even capable of doing.
So
But we
that
feel, go ahead.
I mean, real quick, and I'm sorry to interrupt because I want you to.
No, no,
That
let's
is the
go.
definition of despising small beginnings.
Yes, ma'am.
Stressing your money out
Hmm.
is despising your small beginnings. Go ahead.
No, and this is where a lot of people add dysfunction on top of their dysfunction.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times you've heard it, I've heard it. People want to leave their day gigs so that they can do what they want to do. I'm tired of people telling me what to do. If I want to take leave, I want to take leave. If I want to do this, I want to do that. And I used to be that person. And I used to be that person because I was operating in dysfunction.
Hmm.
God said the only reason you're frustrated on your job is because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Ooh, put a billboard up. Put a billboard up.
You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Hmm.
I was stressing myself out at work because I was dysfunctional at work.
Hmm.
I knew when deadlines were. I knew when this was supposed to happen. I knew when that was. I don't want to do it. Who they think they are telling me to do. And then when all of the stuff hit the fan, then I'm mad. Well, why they asking for this? And what they gave you the date. They're asking for it because it's the due date. They're asking for it because this is your job. They're asking for it because this is what they're paying you for. Honey, when God released me, and see, this is the other thing. I was the biggest dysfunction in my life because I was
Mm-hmm.
lying. I was hiding. God was like, I'm a shake it up and give you a clean start. When God released me from that other job, they let me go. And it was like that was the best release I've ever had. And they let me go. And I mean, no hard feelings at all.
Mm-hmm.
But the beautiful part of it is that God put me in timeout. I was in my little sandbox, and God said, "Now, when you go back, because God told me this. Now, this I know God told me. God said you will never use your resume again."
Ooh.
I said, "Well,
Mm.
okay." Mind you, my resume did not get me the job that I have right now. God said you will
Mm.
never use your resume again. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put you in timeout because when you go back in, you're gonna go back in decently and you're gonna go back in order. You're going to go back in not treating your assignment, your God given assignment, like an affair.
Ooh.
Because, see, at my other job, the dysfunctions, I was layering dysfunction on top of dysfunction. So I had my
Yes, ma'am.
job, and then I'm building my business. So I would have little gigs during the day, and I would take off and then have a doctor's appointment, go to my gig, get into my gig and get into my zone and forget I have a job. And on my way back to my job, I have to bring myself down, forgot the lie that I told my job. I get back in, they were like, "How's your dental appointment?" I'm like, "Huh? Oh, it's okay. It's okay." Hey, I think I'm gonna have to leave early because just lying. God said this cannot be.
No.
So God cleared up all of that dysfunction. And when I
Mm-hmm.
started this gig that I have right now, honey, God cleared this thing up. So everybody at my job knows what I do. When
Yes,
I
ma'am.
take time off, they like, "What, you got an event this weekend? What's going on? What you
Yes,
doing?"
ma'am.
I'm like,
Yes,
"Oh
ma'am.
my God, set that up because God will not honor your dysfunction.
He won't.
Will not,
Mm-mm. And when you walk in that place of truth,
honey."
you don't have to create
Mm,
all this extra stuff which stresses you out,
honey, look,
because when because because when I take time off, it's like, "Oh, you going on a trip or you got a speaking
uh-huh,
engagement?" I have a speaking
uh-huh,
engagement
and you ain't got to
because
have
I've earned the
to.
time and I've done the work. When I am, I'm gonna tell you how good it is. I one year when I started my publishing company, I made books for everybody at work
That's what I'm talking
and gave them notebooks as a Christmas gift. Oh, this is from, oh, what you did? Yes, I'm on Amazon. I gave out my books that I wrote to different people. So it's no. Yes, I'm an author. I'm a coach, certified in emotional intelligence. I gave them the books, the workbook, the journal, the whole nine. So there is no question about what I'm doing and who I am, because remember, we have to be a product of the
about.
product. So I'm showing up as the product every day.
Girl,
And as I'm leading people out of the authenticity of what I have been called to do. So I don't have to hide. What you see is what you
girl,
get.
girl. Okay, look. So we got a new director, and so he wanted to meet everybody, right? Let me tell you. Hold on 1 second. So this is me. He said, "So what do you do?" And I have my whole bookshelf because that computer faces my bookshelf. So I'm up there showing. I say, "See, I create journals. I like this is one of my favorites. Do you like her? Is she cute? Is she cute?" And I was like, I was just going through the book. And I said, "See that?" He said, "All of those you've created, those journals?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "Oh my goodness." He was like, "This is amazing." And then look. Then he said, "I have some people that like the journal. Can I share your information?" "No, you cannot." I ain't that free yet. I ain't that free. I am not that free. But the fact that I was able to share a part of me that is authentically who I am, and then that helps them to know that you have so much more value. It's
Yes.
like it
Oh,
puts you in a different place. Like, don't get me
mhm,
wrong, I like the job, I like the people, and I'm learning so much. See, when you operate in dysfunction, you don't realize the blessings that are in front of you. When you shift and remove yourself from that dysfunction, honey, do you know how many training classes they pay for that you can just take because the firm is so huge? It's like, yeah, I'm gonna sign up for this one, I'm gonna sign up for that one, I'm gonna learn how to do this, I'm gonna learn. Come on now.
mhm.
Before I'm like,
Oh,
who
yes,
got time for that? Who got time to be doing it? I do, because it's gonna help me. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna learn.
ma'am. Mhm,
Honey,
mhm,
don't let your dysfunction keep you away from your blessing.
mm-mm.
Don't let it do. Mm-mm. My God.
And it will, because you box yourself in out of limiting yourself when God wants you to live an unlimited life.
Mm.
Dysfunction limits us and keeps us from flourishing and thriving in certain places. I'm going to share something with you that blessed me this week.
Mm.
And we talked about it on Leslie's Live.
Mm.
Carolyn Wanger. She's the CEO of Essence.
Mm.
Y'all know the Essence Fest
Mm.
is going
Mm.
on right now.
Mm.
And she used to work for my current employer. I'm going to leave the names out.
Mm. Mm.
And she was talking about how she spent so much time trying to navigate and manage her who she was in certain circles, in certain rooms, and managing that, and then going into depression and trying to navigate that and come back and trying to adjust herself. That was all dysfunctional until she realized that she needed to go where her who could
Girl,
flourish.
that blessed me Sunday. Lord have mercy, that blessed
And
me.
when you find your where, you don't have to micromanage your
You
who.
do not. Mm. 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 Mm.
So when you say, I'm no longer going to hide behind agendas, thoughts, and all these different things, and I'm going to search on where it is I can thrive and be my best. But you have to first go all the way back to the first question: what do I want?
Exactly.
That's the first answer to self-awareness and emotional intelligence. What do I want?
Mm-hmm.
And when you answer what you want, it's the same thing when we start the journaling challenge. Write in your God letter. What do you want?
Mm. Mm.
And
Mm.
when
Mm.
you can answer those questions, you begin to navigate differently because it has to line up with what you said you wanted. It's your
Girl,
why. The
girl.
world calls it knowing your why. But in the
Mm.
spirit, it's knowing what you want and what did God say you were supposed to be and have.
Mm.
So
Mm.
instead of you
Mm.
trying to navigate who you are and code switching and all this other stuff we do,
Mm. Girl, and I don't have that kind of energy. I
it
do.
why you think so many people stressed out, losing hair, overweight,
This.
can't get sleep, on all this different medication, taking melatonin and all this other type of stuff? Because we spend my where gives me energy because I know that that's where I thrive. And when I
Mm-hmm.
find myself in a place where I'm getting drained, I'm out of alignment.
Mm-hmm. 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 I surround, and this is why
My
it's so
tells me I'm
important.
out of alignment.
It's so important that that wear piece. It's like I only put myself in environments where I feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to put myself. I tried that one time, and I was so anxious. It was so not me. It was so many people in there pretending to be people. It was going to take at least 10, 12 conversations to find out who the person really was.
Mhm.
Because they would leave with all of their titles, I mean, they were suited and booted and just all just glammed up. And I'm at the shrimp and bacon. I'm just trying to eat. And people, I was like, I walked into the room. I was like, this is not me. Oh my gosh, this is not me. And I went because the coach that I had at the time, because he's moving and shaking and doing all of this stuff. And then God was like, be honest. Be honest. Would you even hang around him? I was like, yeah, no. I mean, it was just so funny to me. Like outside of this coaching environment, we would not hang in the same circles. I am not going to create a life that I need to run from. That's what you do in the world. You
Yes.
have a job those are my coworkers there. I don't be hanging out with them. I am not going to consciously create an environment for myself that I don't want to be in. I am not going to surround myself with a team that I don't like. I'm not going to do business with people that I don't care about. And that's the thing I'm constantly gauging. Like if I'm working with somebody and they stressing me out, I take note, and you don't ever have to worry about Alicia Johnson again. That's why I'm like, when we cross paths, I was like, I like her. Like I was just because I mean, you're polished and poised, but you're fun. Like I was just like, I like her. And it's like everyone that I'm connected with, there has to be such a level of comfort that work and fun feel the same.
Yes.
I can't be around high stress people. I can't be around people that it's all about the bottom line. Heck, we all want the money, but at the end of it, I'd rather have a relationship.
Mhm.
The money will come,
Mhm.
but if I have to watch my back and if I can't feel comfortable around you and if I can't rely on you,
Mhm.
honey, it's no need for it. And
I
that's
want.
why a lot of people are that dysfunctional that
They are. I want to give credit where credit is due. Raj, she comes up with so many wonderful sayings. It's called relational currency.
relational currency. Hallelujah.
That in itself is currency. Is the relationships,
Mm-mm.
because with relationships comes favor, especially when they're God ordained.
Honey.
And God has put that thing together. That will do more than any type of money you could ever have. It's
Mm-mm.
relational currency.
And think about it, Erica. Think about it. God intentionally holds back the money to see what you made of.
Ooh!
God
Let me.
intentionally holds back the money to see what you're made of.
So that is confirmation that I heard God right yesterday.
All
This is
right.
what this is what He told me. He said, "Are you the right person at the right time for the blessing?
Oh my God. Mm, 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 mm.
Have you matured and grown into what it is that I have for you?" He said, "Are you the right person at this right time for this right blessing?"
My God. My God.
So when we get out of this place of dysfunction, everything unlocks in our lives.
It really does. It really does.
Everything unlocks.
At this point in our life, like this, like I've shared, I'm an open book as it relates to the stuff that we've been through. And I remember at one point when money was the answer to everything I thought I needed. If I could just get the right amount of money, then it'll be okay. If I could just do this, it'll be okay. If I could just do that, it'll be okay. When God turned my bank account into the lottery in reverse, I ain't never seen an account this low. It was like negative. It was some crazy, Eric. I got the print screen. I printed it out because I was like, ain't nobody on earth gonna believe it. It was like a negative. My bank account was like a negative $10,000. -$10,000. That was insane. I was like, I ain't paying this. I'm like, they just gonna have to. It was ridiculous. It was fees on top of it was just it was crazy. And God, I was so grateful after hindsight that God placed me in that position because that taught me that money is the lowest level energy you can strive for. God said only strive for money when money is the only thing that can be used. I was like, oh my God.
Ooh.
At this point in my life, when I tell you that God is absolutely amazing, at this point in my life, if Alicia Johnson ever needed to play her crazy card, this would be the time. This would be the time. I am sleeping better than I've ever slept. I am dreaming better than I have ever dreamt. I'm like, only God in heaven, because I have overcome all of the dysfunctions that made me think that money was the only way.
Mm,
All of the dysfunctions that made me think that when life throws a curveball at you that you got to crumble.
mm,
All of the dysfunctions that made me think that when God takes something away from you, that you've done something wrong. Come
mm,
on now.
mm,
When you eliminate all of those dysfunctions, oh
mm.
my God.
You live a life of true liberty,
True,
freedom,
true,
peace. Not
true.
that pseudo peace, that peace that people make up. Real
Woo,
peace.
woosa.
I
Honey,
mean, your life is a woosah. You live in this place of peace that you're even things happen and you looking like that didn't even bother me. Like,
Erica,
oh God.
everything that Mike we going through right now, we are sitting in the hospitals. Like, I'm just sitting up here. We are laughing in between appointments. The hospital that we're going to, they're refurbishing it, right? It is so not. Mike and I were walking through like one of the wings of the hospital. We literally thought for a second like we were on vacation. It was like it's set up like a resort. It's
Wow.
crazy. There's a pianist. There's like this atrium, all of this light, all of this greenery, the glass elevators. You forget that you're at a hospital until you get to the floor. You're like, okay, yeah, this is real. But honey, only God can do that.
Mhm.
God was like, I will make every event enjoyable. I will make everything that I allow to cross your path enjoy the peace that surpasses all understanding. Yeah, you have your rocky moments. Yeah, you have all of that. But joy comes in the morning.
It
So
does.
don't think that we sitting over here talking about we just laugh through that is not the projection I'm trying to give at all. What I'm trying to say is that peace that surpasses all understanding is real once you get on the other side of all of your dysfunction. You ain't playing no more. You're not pretending to be happy. You're not pretending to not let things bother you. You're not pretending to say everything's gonna be okay. Down in my, like Oliver says, down in my
Na, na,
sha-na-na,
na.
I know that everything is gonna be all right.
Mhm.
Girl, this is good. I didn't know where you were going with this one today. I was
You know what? It went where it was supposed to go. It went exactly where it's supposed to go. And we are at our time. I tell you, time goes so fast. And I hate that it's already over. I hope it was as good for you as it was good for us. we're going to do a part two to this because we didn't even get into the strengths and the weaknesses. We diving into the whole thing about dysfunction, and we have a lot more to unpack. So please keep giving your comments. Please ask any questions. I will definitely respond. And if you would like to be a part of the Evolve and Elevate with Erica conversation, make sure you message me. I'm going to have a link to a form out there so that you can be a part of this conversation. And I hope that you will share with someone, tag someone, but please make sure you go to the YouTube page and you subscribe and also like. Reach out to myself or Alicia. We have a couple more weeks left in the Declutter Challenge in the 12-12 community. Look at here. Decluttering helps you to get past your dysfunction because some of us are hoarding some things that's
My
causing us to
God.
stay dysfunctional.
My
And if
God.
you're ready to start your new life, reach out to me for the Embrace Your New Life Challenge. As a coach, I'm more than happy to help you as well. Thank you all so much for joining us for Evolve and Elevate. And remember that you can live your best life by moving on the other side of dysfunction. Love you all so much. Enjoy and have a great, great evening.